وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُّدَّكِرٍ.
And we have certainly made the Quran easy for remembrance. So is there any who will remember?
Okay, there. Okay. Kasra. So here you go. So you've got the raf, which is the dhammas, and you got the nasb, which is the fathas, and you got the jar, which is the kasras. Okay, so those are the status. Okay, there's three status in Ism, only three status. Only three status. So they're one of these three statuses. The Isms are one of these three statuses. And inshallah, with that, we'll go back to the Quran and go to Surah Fatiha, and let's see if you can pick out. And I'll go along with you to see if you can pick out. For the Isms that we've said are Isms, let's see if we can work out now whether they are, in what status are they? Are they Raf? Are they Nasb? Are they Jar? Okay, so let's start inshallah. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. B we said is a harf, we said already. Ism. Ism, again is an Ism. At the end of Ism is what? Is it? Yeah, it's a Kasra. So it is what position? What status? It's Jar. Okay, it's in Jar. We're not learning at the moment. Why? Inshallah we'll learn why later on. At the moment we're learning to recognize an Ism, and then once you recognize it, see if you can tell which status it is, because you should be able to, now that we've gone through that, especially if you've understood what we've said so far. Allah, again, Kasra at the end. This is again in Jar position. Ar-Rahmani, Kasra, again Jar. Ar-Rahim. Okay? If you look at the wording itself, at the end of it, when you say it to the end, we don't pronounce the endings. We say Ar-Rahim, but if we were carrying on, it would be Ar-Rahimi. So again, this is Jar. Alhamdu, can you see Alhamdu? Rough position. And we said if nothing's happening to it and nothing's happening to this particular word, nothing's affecting it, so it's in its normal, rough position, which is the Dhamma. Lillahi, again Allah in here is in Jar position. Rabbi, again Rabbi, is a Kasra, so it's in Jar position. Al-Alameen, we'll leave it at the moment. Ar-Rahman, okay, Ar-Rahman, Ni, can you see the Ni? Again, Ar-Rahmani is an Ism, and that is in Jar position. Ar-Rahim, again Jar position. Maliki, Jar position. Why? Because it's a Kasra. Yawmi, Kasra. So it's Jar. Ad-Dini, Kasra. You can see a lot of them are in the Jar position. Okay, Jar status. The status of them is in what? Is in Jar. This is for the Isms. Harf, no. Harf, we don't talk about statuses. Harf, we do not talk about statuses. Okay, this is just for Isms. Understood? And Fi'l, we're not covering yet, so we're not going to go through that yet. So we are going through the Isms, and as I said, we're picking some of them, not all of them, but most of them we're picking through. So we already, by this, we know most of them. As-Sirata, can you see As-Sirata? What does it have? Something different here. It has a Fatha. So what is this one? We haven't covered it so far yet in Surah Fatiha. What is it? It's Nasab. Okay, it's Nasab. Al-Mustaqim has a Fatha. Again, what is it? It is Nasab. And Sirata, again a Fatha, it's Nasab. Alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayri. Okay, we don't think we covered ghayri, so we leave that. Al-Maghdubi, again you have your Kasra here. So it is in what? Jar position. Okay, and Ad-Dallin, we leave that again. And the reason why we left a few of them, you will perhaps understand by the bits that we're going to go through next, inshallah. And if we're going to too much and it's getting too much and it's difficult to understand, then it may be worth pausing, understanding it, digesting the information, and then going to the next bit, because everything is built upon everything else. So if you really understand the basics of it, you're going to probably struggle even more, and it may be sometimes better to just leave it and listen to it again and see if it makes sense. And if you've got any questions, then by all means let me know, inshallah. Okay, so we're moving on to now the table. You should have a table there. On page 1 it says, okay, very important table and something that you should memorize. Okay, I'm not expecting it to be memorized in one go like that. It's not going to be straightforward, but it will be useful to memorize, and lot of benefits for me. And once you've memorized it, then it's easier to remember and easier to go through. Okay, so far when we went through even though we went through it now. So which example? We went to al Mudarrisu, we talked about Talibu, and we went to the words that we went through. Okay, they were singular. Okay, did you remember we said that in Arabic, the numbers, there are three types, and that's why you've got three columns in these tables. You've got your singular, which is down your right hand column. You've got your second column, which is your pairs, 2, and you've got your last column or your left hand column, which is your plurals. Okay, your plurals. Muslimun, as you can see there, it's male, masculine. Okay, so let's go through that one first. So singular, it should be straightforward, and you should be understanding this now. Okay, so we'll go with Muslimun. Now you should know what status this is in. Okay, you should know which status it's in. Why? Because you know the ending. The ending is the Dhamma. And the Dhamma, we said it was what? Raf. Okay, the Dhamma was what? Raf. Dhamma was what? Raf. Okay, then the next one, let's see, is your Nasab. Is your Nasab. How do we know that? Because it's Musli Man. Fathas. Can you see the fathas come? Yeah. Also note where alif has been added on. Okay? Can't really tell when you're pronouncing it because it's not there. But when you're writing it, you need to add an alif there. Okay? But in terms of pronunciation, it makes no difference. So it's Muslimun with the raf, and the Musliman is the nasab position. And then the jar is Muslimin. Okay? Again, these are all singular, meaning one Muslim. Okay? Meaning one Muslim. Now this you should be familiar with now, what we've been going through so far. Muslimun, the way to learn it, how I would like you to learn is Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. Okay? You need to practice that and get familiar with that. Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. Okay? So the first one is your jar, second one is your nasb, third one is your jar. So that is your singular. That is your singular one. Moving on to the next one. We said that was your pair. So that was one. This is your twos, pairs. Okay? So the singular one, can you see the endings were changed by what? By the endings changing of the dhammas, kasras, or the fathas. So is the vowelization at the end that was changing in the plural, in the pairs and in the plural. That's not the case. Actually, a letter changes. First of all, let's understand how do we make it. That's the other reason why it's good to have it in this shape, because we can use the same principle for other words. So we got Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. We can also have Muflihun, successful one, Muflihun, Muflihan, Muflihin. Okay? And then the plural pair of that we'll go through inshallah. So it is Muslimani, meaning two Muslims. Okay? Two Muslims. In English we add an S, but Arabic has a particular way. Okay, so can you see the ani at the end, the ani, the alif and noon at the end with the kasra? That indicates that it's two. Okay, in the rough position anyway, two. So Muslimani. So if you have something else, baytun, baytani, ani at the end means two. Two houses in that case. Okay, two houses in that case. Two houses in that case. Next one is nasab. What happens to it? Muslimaini. Muslimaini. The alif, Muslimani, has now become a ya. Okay, alif changes to a ya and becomes Muslimaini. Muslimaini. Okay, that's in nasb. And in jar, exactly the same. Meaning that if you just saw this word on its own, Muslimaini, you can't tell whether it's nasb or jar. You know it can't be rough because it would have been Muslimani, but you can't tell whether it is jar or nasb just by looking at that word. Okay, just by looking at that word you can't tell. You might be able to tell for other reasons when we learn more, inshallah, but just by looking at that word on its own you can't tell because they're identical. Could be nasb or jar, that's the answer. It could be nasb or jar. We'll look at the context of it and see the pattern of it to work out which one it is. On its own you can't tell. Okay, so what changes is the alif in the raf, the ya and the ya again in the nasb and jar. Okay, let's see if you can see this. So that's how it looks. That's how it looks. Okay, that's your pairs. That's your pairs. And moving on to the plurals, muslimuna, muslimuna. Okay, muslimuna. Again, similar to the pairs, it's the letter that is important. So here it is the waw, muslimuna. Okay, muslimuna. And in nasb it's going to be muslimina. Mina. The other one was muslimaini. So again, see, can you see? Can you see? On the outside it may look the same, but with the fathahs and the thingy it's different. Okay, so it's muslimina, muslimina. And again, looks identical. Nasb and jar for this again also again looks identical. Identical. Right, and like the other one here in the rough it's waw, and in nasb and jar it's a ya. Okay, muslimuna again 3 or more, muslims. Okay, 3 or more. Yeah, that's it. 3 or more in Arabic. Okay, 3 or more, 3 plus, right? So muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. Again, you need to know this. So you learn it as muslimun, musliman, muslimin, muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini, muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. And inshallah with practice you'll get good at it. And the reason for that, you can substitute things in. Like I said, muflihun. So muflihun means successful one. Now from that we know all the rest. Muflihun, muflihan, muflihin, muflihani, muflihaini, muflihaini, muflihuna, muflihina, muflihina. Okay, so that's useful from that angle. And then feminine, conscious of the time. Okay, feminine, what do we do in feminine? Feminine, how do we make feminine? We add that, can you see it? The ta marbuta at the end is added. So muslimun, if you add a ta marbuta and then so muslimun becomes muslimatun. Okay, muslimatun. So it's muslimatun. If we add that ta marbuta, it's called that thing at the end with the 2 dots, and it looks like a her with the 2 dots at the end. That has made it into feminine. Okay, so just putting it there so if you can see it, that's made it feminine. If we're gonna just send it at the end without doing the ending, then we'll say muslima. Okay, muslima, because we don't pronounce it. You pronounce that time marbuta, pronounce it like a ha if you don't pronounce the ending, or if it's at the end of a sentence. Otherwise, at the moment, learn it with the ending. So it's muslimatun. Okay, that's feminine. So muslimatun.